Hey everybody, welcome back. Last run in Northernlion plays the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. A booster pack edition, of course. Actually garbage, but we made it work. It was garbage because of our own, volition, by the way. My own stupidity. I'm looking to get back to a more conventional level here. So, I look at the character, okay? Just give me a second because I don't want to lose boss rush. I'm trying to give you a good example here. If you look up the guy who films and produces the Devolver Digital E3 special, his name is Don Thacker. He looks exactly like... You gotta find a new picture, okay? That's all I'm gonna say. But, that's him, right there. 100%. Go look... I'm telling you, type Don Thacker 2018. Okay, maybe it's getting a little bit weird now. But this is 100%. What a strange coincidence with this being the week of Devolver's E3 conference, which just happened. Anyway, let's move on. What are we rolling with here? Shiny Rock actually has a mild synergy with sulfuric tears, so I'm okay with that. You don't need me to talk about Monster Man well. It's the item I've probably done the most commentary on that deserves it the least over the course of my entire existence in this friggin' game. Because it's been around forever, it's always sucked, and the reasons for it sucking are extremely annoying, in my opinion. I don't mean to bring up this old grudge. But the fact that this item is balanced to be a familiar once every 3 rooms. Because of the fact that if it weren't balanced to be a familiar every 3 rooms, and instead you could use it once per room, it would be mildly overpowered on greed mode. I just think that's kind of missing the point. It's not my game. I disagree with that decision personally, but... You know, it only matters once every 45 times you ever load up the game and you start with Monster Man. Well, for some kind of reason. Thank God that guy actually chose to attack instead of continuing to walk. Or we'd be in real trouble. Oh my God, we squeezed through. I just want a bomb or some money. I would prefer more than that if possible. I don't mean to be greedy. But I want a chance at an arcade on the next floor, and there is our secret room. Our secret room contains 3 pills. One makes you larger, speed up, now we're talking, perks. Totally worth it. 1 bomb for a speed upgrade, not even close to being the kind of thing you'd be salty about. We should probably accept, though. It's very, very low percentage chance of us getting a deal with the devil, obviously, is 0%. Unless we happen to get a Joker card. So, I mean, if you want to crunch those numbers, we get into some real business here. We'd have to get an item that gives us a card in the first place, which is probably like 5%. Then that card would have to specifically be the Joker. But then you have to work it out on top of that, because who knows, we can get an item that gives us a card, 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 that gives us the Joker. You know, you got some kind of Riemann's sum. That's right. I have a college degree. At one point in my life, I knew what a Riemann's sum was. I have no idea what it is now. I believe a Riemann's sum is when you sum over a set using a set function. I have a theory about mathematics, by the way. People who are bad at math, myself included, or no, let's not say bad, that's a little bit gatekeepy. You know, people who don't have a lot of experience with math, they always have theories about it. Let me just look. Riemann's sum. In mathematics, a Riemann sum is a certain kind of approximation of an integral by a finite sum. One very common application is approximating the area of functions or lines on a graph, but also the length of curves and other approximations. Alright, so I have no idea what I'm talking about, but at one point I knew enough about it to at least get like over a 70% on a mathematics exam in college. That has been purged from my memory fully. I feel like a real problem that math has is that, and by the way, computer programming has this too. This is why at my school they force you to take, if you want to get the full degree in what is the equivalent of computer science basically, they force you to take a class that's basically how to talk to people in public. I don't think it's a bad idea to have to take the class. I will say, It was the most boring class I ever took in my life. Amazing professor, so engaging, but you would have the exercises you would do in class were just mind-numbing. You know, Tina in HR comes up with a suggestion for what you should do for your project. What would you do if you disagree with Tina? By the way, this is our black market or crawl space. I would politely explain my side of the story while being deferential and allowing Tina the opportunity to gracefully back down from her idiotic suggestion without losing face. If that didn't work, I would bring up our job descriptions to the CEO and have her fired. Easy. I don't... Dude, I'm being real with you. I think Continuum might break sulfuric tears. I was sitting there waiting for sulfuric tears to work, but no such luck. Not a huge problem. Hey, not useful now, but that's fine. The problem that I was going to talk about before I got, I segued myself there, is, oh, there's another tinted rock. I think it's the use of non-everyday language that oftentimes ends up confusing people. Like, there's the perception among some people that algebra is confusing. I'm not trying, again, to, shame anybody, gatekeep, etc., etc. I think we try this. There's no bombs. You were supposed to have a bomb available for me. That was the whole point of the shebang here, is that I would get a bomb back and I would look like a genius. No bombs ever again? Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that there was only one bomb available for the entirety of the game. Algebra's like the easiest thing in the world. It's just problem solving. You just gotta use I'm not saying the nation's math teachers are letting us down. I just think we're willfully kind of tricking ourselves into believing it's so complicated, And it's gotta be frustrating to be the person who invented word problems. Because when I was growing up, it was always like, oh, have you gotten to word problems in math yet? That's the toughest problems of all, word problems. And I'm like, word problems? That's my jam, dude. A word problem is just a metaphor. And that's exactly where my wheelhouse lies. So when they say things like, well, a car is traveling at 90 kilometers an hour at a heading of 30 degrees north-northwest, and at what point will they reach the town, and will the sun still be up at that time? I have an anecdote, 100% told it before. The only thing that's a problem for me with word problems is that sometimes I pull back the lens of abstraction and forget that they're a math problem, and I treat them as pedantically as I would on the NLSS. So I took in my calculus exam in my first year of university, there was a question that was basically meant to, it was a word problem, but you were to use calculus in order to determine at what angle a fish should swim from one side of a river to another, given that the current pushes at a vector at a certain speed. So basically, like, the river's rushing. If the fish wanted to conserve energy, and you had a formula for that, for the energy use, I should say, at what speed and heading should it swim? And I was having some trouble with this question. No doubt they had given me the tools over the course of the year, and I had just, I was drawing a blank on this question for whatever reason. So basically, I just said, and I plugged 0 into the equation, but I said, well, if the fish wants to conserve as much energy as possible, it shouldn't swim at all. What I expected was for the teacher to give me a half mark because, I had recently graduated from high school, where if you put a cute answer on a test, sometimes, and by the way, it is technically correct, but it's against the spirit of the question. Yes, if you want to conserve energy, that's one way to do it, I suppose. Oh, I didn't mean to use it. That's okay. We're going to get resources here. It was worth it. It's not the spirit of the question, and I knew it wasn't the spirit of the question. What I got instead was a 0 on that question. I didn't get a see me after class because, I still did okay on the exam overall, but I digress yet again. Okay, try this on for size. Ooh, that's a double tinted rock. I was completely wrong. And it ended up being pretty sweet. What was back... Wait a minute. Was there a reroll machine in here that I neglected? It's plausible. No reroll machine, okay. Well, I think we're just good to go then. Statistically, this run is fine. We're way behind schedule, but a card could fix that real quick. I think if we had like a better set of metaphors for mathematics, it wouldn't intimidate people so much. Same thing happens in, well, I'm not in computer science if you want to get technical, I'm in programming, but, you know, the same thing happens in computer science where, you know, the egghead's up there blabbling on about, oh, well, Java's a statically typed language, so blah, 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 and you're sitting there in your chair going, what the heck is a language? You know? This is lecture 1, you're supposed to, first you say, how are you guys doing, and then you say, don't copy anybody's work or you'll get kicked out of the school. Then you show us, you know, what the syllabus is for the rest of the year, and this guy's talking about all this nonsense, all this nerd stuff. I didn't sign up for that. I signed up to learn how to make the next Facebook. Is that so hard? Maybe if you get a Cambridge Analytica on your side. I have no idea what I'm talking about, by the way. I asked for a more conventional run. I think I've been granted a more conventional run. I like where we're at. There's room to grow. Particularly, I think, like, damage and rate of fire are a little on the low side for where we're at, but it's not horrendous. Hey, I knew it. I knew it. We're working on it. Our speed went down when we picked up Small Rock as well, which is suboptimal. Just a card. I shouldn't have lost the Fortune Teller. I meant to hit E for a bomb, and instead I hit Q. You know why? It's because in my brain, I don't even think about what button to press to do this stuff anymore. It all just comes out automatically while I'm rambling about other stuff. I'm willing to take a gamble on this. Well, the shop should be good for us on this floor. That's all I'm willing to say about that for now. Why did you explode? Wait a minute, are you telling me sulfuric tears are actually still working, so I didn't need to look for those bombs in the first place? I'm only mad because I shot like 20 of them, and nothing came out. I might have shot 30 of them, honestly. The reason I'm suggesting that's what happened is because I think I might have shot an explosive rock and then had it explode. It's the only thing I could think of, unless there was a troll bomb as a reward from that room, but oh no, I've gone cross-eyed again, you know, with the permutations here. Anyway, we got a long road to redemption here. And that's okay. Me and Thacker are gonna take it to the next level. I think you check. 2 of spades. Nothing wrong with that. Once I had the 2 of spades. Da, 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 da. You guys, that's it. You're not gonna know that song, okay? Even if you're Canadian, you're not gonna know it. But it is a Canadian song. That song, it's called The King of Spain. Was sung by a band called Moxie Fruvis. It's a little bit before my time, to be honest. The band is noteworthy because one of the members of the band, a young Gian Gomeshi, that's right, you're saying, oh, now I know who that guy is. No, you're not. Unless you're Canadian and probably over the age of like 21. Gian Gomeshi was a CBC radio host, later very famously accused of sexual harassment and maybe assault. There's a huge case in Canada. That's my connection for you guys. If you're Canadian, you're going, oh, the more you friggin' know, eh? If you're American, you're like, what is the CBC? The CBC is our publicly funded news outlet because we're a socialist country. Every day we get in the news line and we say, please, sir, can I have some news? And they say, here's your news. You want more news? Wait. We did find, where the heck are we going? I hate this curse. I know we found the item room because we got Mongo Baby. Where the heck is the shop? Get me out of here. Did we go to the shop? We went to the shop. That's where we bought There's Options. Okay. See, I'm getting so mind-flooded by this rare memory of Gian Gomeshi existing. Who would have thought there was like a 2008-2007 interview between Gian Gomeshi and Billy Bob Thornton. Billy Bob Thornton was touring with his band. You can find it on YouTube. It's a bizarre interview. Gian Gomeshi, you gotta remember, he was like the David Frost of Canada, sort of. He was like everyone liked him. I'm trying to think of a good example. He was like Sarah Koenig or something like that. If you live in the United States. You know, he was a well-respected journalist, affable. Young people loved him. Old people didn't find him too threatening. He was like, probably has an Order of Canada, is my guess, but I never checked. They give out like 1,000 of them a year. So he's like everyone loves him at this point. He's interviewing Billy Bob Thornton. Billy Bob Thornton's touring with his band, and he's on some kind of substance. And Gian Gomeshi is asking very affable questions like, hey, what's it like to be in movies and also in a band? And Billy Bob Thornton is basically telling him to F off and suggesting that he's crossing the line. He's like, if I weren't an actor, you wouldn't be asking me about acting. And he's like, you know, you got me there. Who would have thought 10 years later, Billy Bob Thornton, middle of the swing on a redemption arc, beloved character actor, incredible as Lorne Malvo in season 1 of Fargo, Gian Gomeshi completely disgraced. It's a complete 180 from their positions after that interview. Just goes to show you, man. The game was rigged from the start. No, I don't know. Doesn't seem like it was really rigged from the start. It just seems like a very complicated and prickly situation, probably the likes of which we shouldn't be talking about here. Mostly because I don't know what I'm talking about at the best of times. But what's going to mess you up is you're going to be like, does he not know what he's talking about? Or does he know what he's talking about? But he knows if you feign ignorance, you can get away with having an opinion some people might find slightly different. Now you're thinking yourself into a corner you can't get out of. I also talked myself into a corner I can't get out of, to be fair, but... So somewhere along the line, we picked up, you know, basically 90 cents on one room. Eagerly awaiting the shop. Please be nice to me and give me a tarot card. There is a tarot card. That's very sweet of you. That's so dear. Thank you. What on earth? I'm taking it. Nightmare mode. I didn't want the pill clogging up the screen. Definitely should have taken PhD. Then paralysis. I don't know what it would have become. What's the opposite of not moving at all? Moving 0.15 faster than you used to? Maybe. How am I supposed to know? I'm drowsy. Huh, drowsy, I'm dead. Gertie, you and me have been in this game for a long time. We're like Common and Keanu Reeves in John Wick 2. Just two old dogs slugging it out day after day. For powers greater than either of us. You guys seen John? It's not a spoiler. Common, the rapper, is in John Wick. You should see it if you haven't. He's in John Wick 2. You should see it if you haven't seen it. I know it's not really a meme. I hate that we have to do this, but you know, it's necessary to some extent. With almost everything, not everything. With almost everything that gets really, really popular, and especially on the internet. This is Necropolis 1, right? I'm not a fool. I'm not a complete fool. Okay. If everybody is talking about how good something is, it brings people out of the woodwork. I'm not going to say people fabricate contrary opinions, but anybody that has a contrary opinion to the norm comes out of the woodwork and is like, well, I don't think it's that good. And that's fine. You know, it's our diversity of our opinions that makes us strong, leads to great conversations like, would you freeze a sandwich, or would you make 7 sandwiches at the start of the week and then freeze them? I still think it's just about the dumbest thing I've ever heard on the show, but that's life. If you think that's rude, you may be right, but I did also say it to their faces. Sandwiches are not a freezable food. You can get frozen sandwiches. There's no escape. But they're not like top tier sandwiches. Is all I'm, you know, to freeze a sandwich and get some iced up deli meat, it just seems backwards to me, is all I'm saying. Sure, I was gaslighted during that conversation. This is like 2 years ago now, but I never, ever give up a grudge, okay? That's one of the best things about me. Forgive and forget? Forgive, never forget. You hear some of the anecdotes on this show about people who I perceive to have wronged me when I was in grade school? That's right. I remember. sort of, but increasingly less day to day. So, you know, in 30 or 40 years, we could probably hang out or something. I guess I'll just die on this run, if you don't mind. Don't be greed. Wow, this is way better. I think we will buy this. Mostly just to get this going. Oh, be cool. Take it. Take it. We didn't get a lot of HP on this run, by the way. So if we had died there, I would have been unhappy, but not altogether surprised. Sure, why not? Still got tons of cash. Probably start using bombs. We could have done Jar of Flies. 2 of Hearts is not what we're looking for, but it's not terrible. We'll buy this. We'll buy the gift as well. Meal prep is great. In college, I used to make, on Sundays, I'd make a huge pot of chili. Because I actually cared about my body back then. And I still do, but mostly now it's like, I don't want to die. Back then it was like, I want to have sick abs. And I knew the macronutrient breakdown of the chili. Give me the compass. I want out. Let's go, a 3-cent map. So I made it, and it was really good. And I would eat that all week. Twice a day I would have that chili. It was the greatest time of my life. The meals were so simple, the dishes were even simpler. Once a week I washed a pot, twice a day I washed a bowl and a spoon. I was living like a minimalist lifestyle. I was like a Japanese fashion designer or something. Get out of here. I'm gonna take the damage just to save us a little backtracking, which is probably another reason why we deserve to die on some of these runs. So be it. Definitely not make a boss rush, by the way. Anyway, so I respect meal prep. Just sandwiches are not the right choice. It's like that picture of like boiling water and then putting it in the freezer so you got instant boiling water for your pasta later. It's counterintuitive because sometimes things that are counterintuitive because they're silly. I almost said stupid, but then I felt bad. So it's not stupid. It's just like a little bit. One of my friends told me about that. I'd be like, I don't know. Are you okay? Anyway, the long and the short of it is, John Wick and John Wick 2 are as good as people suggest they are. I would recommend you watch them if you haven't seen them. It's a breath of fresh air for the action genre. Very good films. They're not that good. Okay, that's fine. But you gotta watch them first. Then you can tell me they're not that good. I'll admit I was skeptical for John Wick 2. I was like, you know, you captured lightning in a bottle on the first one. It reeks of kind of like a cash-in, right? Nope. Also amazing. They did a fantastic job. Great work, Keanu. Keep it up. Did you know that Keanu Reeves... They're like, he's gonna say it. Get the bingo card ready. Half Canadian. It's true. AKA Canadian. As far as I'm concerned. I'm not losing blank card in order to take Forget Me Now. That's like, you know, we can just look at it like a Bitcoin exchange rate. Is blank card worth an item room in a shop? Is worth about 10 times more than that. Okay. I was hoping for Spirit Hearts, but I can live with this. Give me Incubus. I don't really because we have the Emperor, we can't do this yet. If it was any other teleport card, we'd get in there. We don't need to do boss rush, of course, but we would be able to teleport out. I guess we had 2 charges as well. That's the other necessary step. Let's go. Dude, you know what I need more recommendations for? You're probably going to be able to guess, to be honest. Netflix true crime documentaries. When I was a kid, and even like as of like 5 years ago, every true crime documentary was like cold case files and stuff like that. You know, and that's when usually the husband got incredibly mad and, you know, did something unconscionable. Then they go to a commercial and it's like an ad for incontinence treatment. It was always like the same show over and over. Now we're getting these like the People versus O.J. Simpson sort of like deep dive true crime series, and I'm loving every second of it. I'm watching The Staircase. I know you're going to recommend The Staircase. Engrossed. Fully engrossed. It's going to take me 10 years to finish The Staircase. It really will. Because I watch 8 minutes, I fall asleep, and I wake up. And it's like Rashomon. I have no idea what they're talking about. They're like 4 episodes in the future. The dude's daughter is talking. I don't know who any of the characters are. It's like coming in an Infinity War. Some dude with swim goggles and wings on his back pops in, and I'm like, who the heck is this guy? You don't look like Hawkeye. You don't look like the guy that may or may not have murdered his wife. I need like a Cole's Notes. But if you have any recommendations for that, hit me up. I watched, obviously Making a Murderer is the big one. Even still. I watched Wild Wild Country. This story seemed fictional to me. It is 100% real. I mean, I knew as I was watching it, it was real. But I was also... It's one of those stories where I'm like... If you haven't seen it, it's about this... I don't even necessarily want to say cult. They took a pretty velvet glove approach to it. But I guess it is a cult. Yeah, okay. It's about this cult. They buy up like a bunch of land in Oregon, in the United States. And then they start running this compound. And their ideals for the religion, basically, were like, you know, peace, love, and understanding. And then the townspeople are like, we don't really... kind of like took over our town. And they like voted themselves in as mayor of the surrounding municipalities. And then the townspeople were like, that's not cool. And they're like, okay, well, we bought a bunch of AK-47s. And we started like shooting them off at the ranch at targets, and we're doing like military training exercises. And I was like, it happened. That's insane. Why isn't everybody talking about this once a year and being like, well, this is the 23rd anniversary of when this happened? Why did I have to wait for the Duplass brothers to come out with something? Wait, there's a great bit there. Duplass. Anyway, you get the idea. That's Rammstein. Oh, you don't listen to foreign music? That's Rammstein. Stein? I don't know. I'm Canadian. I don't speak any German, and I wouldn't even pretend to. So you're not gonna be a big fan of this potentially, but I'm prioritizing my own survival, which I do about once per video when it's already too late to make a difference. But what we're gonna be doing here is making more of an effort to try to put our health above all else. Stop. Can you just do the one where you poke your tail out so I can actually do damage to you? So close yet so far, my friend. You're almost there. Oh, he's done it. Did it have to be so hard? So, I think we're at the point with the booster pack sort of stuff where I don't need to take the bone hearts. I'd rather take synth oil. Whoa, this is the wrong direction. I think synth oil is a better choice. The damage is more necessary, and I'm good to go. Anyway, the long and the short of it is, if you have any other true crime recommendations on Netflix, hit me up. I love the ones that are not cheesy. They're just like, you know, they give you I don't want to say an unbiased take, but they spread out the relevant information over like 14 episodes. That's my jam right there. 80% chance of a deal with the devil. What a strange percentage. 80. I'm trying to think. Usually we'd have like 2/3. Because we didn't get a deal with the devil on that last floor. We must have some kind of like... Incubus is an evil upgrade, and Rhythm is a dancer. Well, it didn't work out. Either way, though. Like, this... We're going to speed run through the cathedral, and then we're going to take our time on the chest. Unless things get extremely dangerous, in which case we'll obviously mess with it. Do not want that at all. We have double Emperor cards, right? It's Emperor, Emperor. It is indeed. Don't you do it. It's just nice to be in a more comfortable spot on this run. I really do think we had some historic low rolls on the last run. Oh, and that, you want to talk about a high roll? As such a high roll, I might change my name to Link. Am I right, fellow gamers? There's nothing wrong with being a gamer. Gamer has been a... As I was growing up, it was a normal word you used to describe yourself in a hobby. It became kind of a poisoned word, and in what might be a little bit of a controversial opinion, I think the word has been poisoned. I'm not going to say for a good reason, but I can see why people are embarrassed to call themselves gamers. Because whenever a news story runs a headline, it's always like, insane person does this. By the way, they loved Call of Duty. And you're like, I think that's kind of irresponsible. You know, there's been some conjecture. Is it, I don't want to say embarrassing, but I'm going to say it anyway. Is it embarrassing to identify yourself solely by the type of media you like to consume? I'm going to say no. You might think that question usually leads into yes. But I think if you describe yourself as a person, like, I don't feel comfortable saying that I'm a gamer. But that's just because I know, you know, I'm an angel, but other people can be very judgmental. That was self-aware. Just in case you were wondering. You know, I think the problem with the word gamer is that there's no analog for other stuff. The closest analog, I think, to gamer is foodie. And people use foodie kind of unabashedly. Even though it's also, like, it's no less embarrassing than defining yourself by, oh, let's go. It's no less embarrassing than defining yourself by playing, like, a lot of video games. Or even just enjoying playing a lot of video games. And I would describe myself as a foodie, and you know why? I eat some semi-soft cheeses from the Ottawa Valley region. That's right, I eat Oka. So I don't think you have to be embarrassed, okay? I do the only reason I think that the word gamer in my head has fallen out of fashion is because it's no longer even close to a counterculture sort of thing, you know? Ninjas out there getting $1 trillion TV deals, you know, everybody's doing the backpack kid dance in Fortnite. I don't know if that was supposed to connect to that conversation in any way. My brain was like spinning up anecdote generator to support point. Might have whiffed on that one. A false positive. I apologize. Yo, this is horrible. All because I stepped on the button by accident. But now that it's not counterculture, to describe yourself as a gamer is more like, yeah, you know, me too. The cake is a lie and all that. So it's like, it's not quite, used to, I'm sure, and even when I was younger, it wasn't like this, because everybody in my school, you know, played video games, but, I'll give you another anecdote in just a second if the run's not over by then, and that'll illustrate this. But, you know, I'm sure in the, you know, maybe in the 1980s, it was like a signal. It was like a bat signal you could send out. You'd be like, I'm a gamer. And then you kind of wince, and then they're like, me too, dude. I love Galaga, Pac-Man, Defender, Joust. And you're like, I just found my best friend. We're going to open up a comic book shop together, because we're the only two people in our town that like this stuff. Even though now I'm realizing that makes no sense, because there were like 100 arcades per square mile back then. But anyway, I'll tell you how, it's so obvious. Like, nobody needs me to explain this, but I'll fulfill it with anecdotes anyway. Here's how big gaming has gotten. You know, I've been doing this job for a long time. I mentioned I went to Kate's concert, and we met an orchestra member that Kate plays with and her boyfriend. And then they went to get prepared backstage for the performance. Me and her boyfriend were on, like, you know, begrudging, we're making friends with each other sort of duty. Not that we're, like, you know, antagonistic towards one another. We got along pretty well, but it's like, yeah, you know, we're the spouses, and the spouses are doing their spousal stuff. That we had to drive here, and then, you know, we got to hang out with each other. So we were talking, and he was explaining what he does, and he's like in school to be a chaplain, which I have no idea. I'm not going to make the obvious Charlie Chaplin joke, but I have no idea what a chaplain is, so I was talking with him with genuine interest. I was like, what's the difference between a chaplain and a minister and a reverend and a priest and a, you know, etc., etc. And then I explained, he asked me what I did, and I had to explain it to him. I was like, do you know this service called Twitch? Used to be, you say that, people's eyes would glaze over. Now everyone's like, oh yeah, Twitch, like my little brother watches Fortnite on there, you know. But what we, you know, now it's more common. He was just like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I was like, you know, video games? He's like, yeah. And then I was like, there's a service where like people play them and broadcast themselves playing them, and then other people watch them and even give money to them or like buy a subscription or so, yeah, etc., etc. And his mind was blown. And I was like, dude, I haven't had a reaction like that in forever. Are we best friends? Anyway, that's why it's so mainstream now. It's like saying I'm a walker. I just love to walk. Thanks for watching. Thanks for walking. Hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. It helps a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.